Good morning. It is Wednesday the 24th of June 2026 and it's 5:35 a.m. We're in Dubai and it's 36 degrees. This morning's video is about the weather in the UAE and cycling with type 2 diabetes, how I control the diabetes, and what's good and bad in the weather regarding the weather in the UAE and cycling. So I cycle more or less every day to keep my diabetes under control. But obviously living in the UAE and in Dubai, the weather can be challenging at times. We fundamentally have one season here, which is summer. During the latter parts of the year, it obviously does get very cooler. So for about 4 or 5 months of the year, it's great weather. For probably 6 to 7 months of the year, it is pretty hot weather like now. So what does that mean? That means we get up early at 5:30 and cycle, or cycling late at night in the evening. But even then, like this morning, can be particularly hot. So first of all, make sure that you've got suntan cream on. I usually wear a factor 50, particularly on my nose and the back of my neck when I'm cycling. These are all vulnerable points. Second, bring lots of water, plenty of water with you. I usually put cranberry juice, a slight bit, say 1 part cranberry to 8 parts water with a little pinch of sea salt as a kind of homemade electrolytes fluid. But at least you should take water with you, ideally water with electrolytes. Make sure you're wearing the right clothing. One of the the early mistakes I made was I wore cotton t-shirts. They just get too wet, too hot, and are not really the best to wear. At the moment, it's cycling gear for me, so I wear a cycling jersey, and a must-have all times of the year are cycling shorts. Obviously, you do sweat. I will be sweating at the end of this ride, but the cycling jersey gives you the option to be able to move down the zip to let more air in. They're very, very lightweight and airy, and you really need to make sure that you keep the sweat to a minimum. Try and stopping any kind of rubbing. Same with cycling shorts. Get a good pair of cycling shorts. Jerseys you can get away with lower cost ones, but really the best investment is a good pair of cycling shorts. Sunglasses are next. Got to make sure you've got a good pair of sunglasses. These are Oakley Jawbreakers with prescriptions. The prescriptions were direct from Oakley. There is another company, I think it's called RX, that also creates relatively good lenses. Morning. The glasses are always a must. Not only just from sun protection, but also from protection from any objects. Quite a few times you get hit by an animal or a little tiny, like a branch just then. Or you'll get hit by a small insect. So sunglasses are really important from two perspectives: eye protection and glare protection, UV protection. Think about the route that you're going to be cycling. I cycle this particular route every morning. It's close to my home, but equally it's close to places like this, small cafes that can give fluid. You can sit down, have a rest, and there's plenty of these cafe type stops along this beach run. But do think about the route that you're taking, the turnaround points, the distance you're going, and any kind of rest stops, particularly areas where there's shade. What I certainly wouldn't be doing is going into the desert. There's a track called Al Qudra, which is a loop, 50k in the desert. It's beautiful, but it just would not be worth it. I'd have to carry a lot of water. There's very little to no shade. A lot of cyclists do it, but not me. We have tried other things as well, little bits of innovative, creative elements. When I first started cycling, it was hot, and it was around June, July time. And what I used to use is a backpack. I can't think of the company's name, but the backpack contains water, which is iced, chilled water, with a pump that actually sprays water over your face and over your body. And when I first started, the way my body was dealing with heat is not as effective as it is at the moment. So I needed that to keep cool. And I think it was a little bit hotter last year as well. My wife also, on her channel, just recently reviewed her micro fan. She has a battery operated fan that she brings with her on every ride, and if we do stop at a coffee shop, fan comes out, and she's obviously using it to cool down. That's another good innovative idea. I've also got one, but in all honesty I keep forgetting to bring it. And on the matter of water, make sure you drink it regularly. The water is obviously really important, and the water bottles you're using are really important. I found that the insulated podium plastic bottles are okay in the summer, but they're just not efficient enough in terms of keeping the water cool during the summer months here. My bottle actually on a 50k ride will actually physically get warm, but the contents are much more cooler. The bottles I use are Podium TI titanium bottles, and they keep the water really cool for at least a 50k ride, at least 2 hours of riding. Also think about the weather. I know I've mentioned the sun, but also wind direction is a factor. At the moment I've got a Garmin widget on my screen showing me that there is a slight wind direction blowing towards me, but at the moment it's not actually helping at all. It's like a warm sauna air blowing over me. Some mornings that air is not warm, it's quite cool, and that is refreshing, and that obviously means that I can ride a little bit further, maybe even a little bit faster. But really look at the environment. You can see there's no wind on any of the palm trees at the moment. They're not blowing whatsoever, or very little wind. You can just see a little insect hit me. That's why the eye protection is important from the sun, but also from any ballistic creatures that are deciding to attack you. Another factor is that other people on the road, I noticed that when it's particularly hot here and the beach is busier, people tend to be a lot more lax about looking both ways. They just want to get back to their car or to a restaurant or something cooler, so they'll just walk out in front of you. Be mindful of others when you're riding. That's the last thing you want to do, is injure yourself or injure anybody else just because of their mistakes. So do be careful with that. I don't think there's anything specific related to diabetes and cycling in heat or in this kind of climate, other than the fact that for me, having that little bit of cranberry juice, obviously 1 part cranberry, around 8 parts water with a bit of salt, does really help my metabolism. I also don't generally eat after around 5:30, 6. The reason being is that gives me a full 12 hours of no food in my body. And I'm very careful what I do eat. What I did start with is having a banana after a ride, or even during or before a ride. That would make my blood sugar spike, particularly if it's a very ripe banana. The glucose index was too much for my body to process first thing in the morning. So now, and for other reasons, obviously muscle growth, I have a protein milk, 300 millilitres of milk with a whey powder, which gives me about 114 grams of protein in the morning. I'll then have a small coffee just for that extra kick, and then I'll just obviously bring my water with me, and that is all I have for the immediate breakfast. When I get to work, I'll have 3 dates round about 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and that's it until lunch. It's not really related to the weather, but it is about diabetes control. Always, no matter what time of year it is, bring with you a small bar, an energy bar or a protein bar or something, just in case you do feel that you need that extra bit of energy. But honestly, you've really got to feel it rather than just eating it. But as always, take your advice from your doctor before doing any of this, making sure you're physically fit to be able to cycle. On that important point, know your body is really important in all weathers and all temperatures. Think about how you're cycling, think about your performance. I use a lot of data, but it's not, the decisions that I make when I'm cycling are not about my data. Every morning my wife, well not every morning, but regularly my wife says, "Where are we going?" And I can't tell her because it's my body that tells me if I can do 20, 30, 40 or 50 kilometers or 100 kilometers. I have to listen to what my body is saying. Now for me, I look at my heart rate. If I can get my body's heart rate up to a zone 2 comfortably, then I'm going to do the distance, and I'm going to try and maintain that distance that I've set. So if it's a 20 kilometer, I'll do 20. If it's 30, I'll do 30. If I can't get my body to zone 2, then I'm not riding fast, but I'm riding far. So I'll do at least 30, 40 or 50 kilometers, pushing it that little bit more, but keeping my power in a zone 2 power zone to try and keep my body burning fat, which is what's important to me. But also listen to your body. Are you particularly dehydrated? Do you feel dizzy? Are you sweating? Sweating is particularly a good function, but once you stop sweating, that's the problem. That means you're particularly dehydrated. You need to stop. If you're feeling dizzy, if you're overly out of breath, think about your body, particularly in this heat. It can be dangerous. Another minor point is the road surface. It's going to be hot. I don't think it really makes a difference in terms of performance. I'm not too sure. For me, it makes me faster or slower or gives me more grip when I'm turning. It may do, but the point I want to make is if you come off the bike or want to sit down, surfaces are hot. So think about that. If you fall off, you're going to have to get back up fairly quickly, obviously making sure you're able to, but the floor is hot. Think about that. I wouldn't call myself anywhere near an experienced cyclist. I've cycled for about a year now. I've had no coaching. I've done it predominantly to control my diabetes, to lose weight, and I really enjoy it. There's no doubt I love coming out on a cycling and coming out on these rides, even though I ride the same route every day. It's just an amazing little micro adventure every time I come out, and what a beautiful setting for it. But on the side of working out in the weather, I do have a lot of experience of that. So when I first started in the UAE, I actually trained lifeguards. So you can imagine lifeguards are out in the sun all the time. Not only do they have to look after themselves, they have to look after guests that are becoming heat exhausted, sunburned, dehydrated, all things like that. So I used to teach that, and I was a lifeguard national train assessor for the Royal Life Saving Society for over 10 years, probably 15 years. So I taught a lot of lifeguards. But equally, I've also done search and rescue over here and been involved in media photography from the point of view of off-road racing, which meant I was also out in the sun all day with a camera, going out and rescuing people. So I've got some experience of working with heat and how to make sure you're safe during the summer. Here's a good example. This runner on my left, obviously running, probably a really professional runner, looks very physically fit, but runs in front of a bus putting his hands up, and it's just not worth it. You know, sometimes when you're hot, you don't make sense to yourself. Your thoughts are just about cooling off, and your body's natural defense systems are trying to prioritize that. So you can make mistakes in judgment. That is a critical factor when cycling, and when cycling in heat like this. I think my last comment about the weather, the only one I can finally think about, is the post-ride. Obviously make sure you put plenty of suntan cream on, and reapply it if you need to. When you get home, don't hang around in your cycling gear, get it off straight away. Get a shower. Don't have too warm a shower, but equally don't have too cold a shower straight away. Have a lukewarm shower or bath. You don't want to shock the system either one way or the other. Progressively, when I get into the shower, I turn the heat down so it eventually is cold, but I let my body adapt to that coldness. It is important to get the heat out of your body straight away. You know, when you cook a turkey, you take the turkey out of the oven, it's not cold just because it's removed from the heat. It still retains heat. Your body is the same. So when you get home, you want to get that heat out of your body and bring your temperature down, not too rapidly, slowly down to a normal rate. And on my 50k rides, I religiously have to do this. Otherwise, I'm quite out of sorts all day. That heat stays in me. So, cold shower, not straight away. Bring it down to colder weather, slowly. Making sure that you take that temperature down, not radically, but slowly. Sorry, someone was filming just back there and I was wondering what they're filming. I should say have plenty of rest days, but this is my 5th day of cycling. Usually I have 4 days on cycling every morning and then a 5th day. But I've got to be honest, I really enjoy it and I don't want to stop. So I've cycled literally 5 days. And it's been 50, 50, 50, I think, or 52 50s at the weekend, a 30 and I think a 20. And today will be at least 20 kilometers. 20 kilometers in what is going to be, it is actually probably around 32 degrees at the moment, but will come up certainly to 36, probably 45 by midday. I did think of another rule in the sun, and one of the most important, totally embarrassed that I forgot about it, and that is wear a hat. And I'm not just meaning a cycling helmet. That's a must. You've got to wear a cycling helmet. Anyone that doesn't is an idiot. Cycling helmets are mandatory. But what commonly I will wear in really hot summer days when the sun is high, actually it doesn't have to be hot, it just has to be bright, is a cycling cap under my helmet. All I would say is make sure it's a breathable one. But the idea here is it's protecting your head. Even with a cycling helmet on, the sun does get through the air slats. And another good point is when you are going to be wearing a cycling helmet, make sure that it's got good ventilation. That's an important component. Ventilation. Oh, God. I'm about to be run over here like some idiot. Yeah, but make sure you've got a good ventilation on your helmet, and make sure you're wearing a helmet. You might need to wash the helmet out pretty regularly with soap and water, because you do sweat. But that cycling cap is important. Even when you stop, and if you take off your helmet, when you've stopped having a coffee or something, it's good to have good to have a helmet with you in your jersey or in your bag, ready to wear. Morning. So just coming up to 19 kilometers. This morning's ride really wasn't about meeting the stats. It's a day off ride, so more about being enjoyment of cycling rather than the fitness component of it. As I said, I've deviated slightly from the AI instructions. The AI instructions were to have a rest today, and I might actually have a rest tomorrow, depending how I feel. But it is important to have rest days, particularly in the heat. You want to give your body a chance to recover. But in fairness, this ride has been very low intensity, and I think most of the rides Tuesday and Monday were quite low intensity, low distance, so my body seemed to recover a lot quicker. But rest days are important. Today's ride has just 20k. I haven't wanted to push it. In fact, I'm going to turn around. Actually, I'll turn around at the waterfalls, my usual place. So just 20k. I think I've kept my cadence at least above 160, which is good. My cadence are at least above 80, and my power above 160. But I've not tried to break any records. I probably do need to have a rest tomorrow. This is the 5th day of cycling for me. Beautiful vista over there of the skyline. Sun is a little bit higher, so the intensity is going to be a lot more. Another little minor point in terms of the sun and cycling in the heat is shadows that it creates. When the sun is quite low like this, you see shadows on the floor, and it helps you see any undulation in the road surface. Not a major point. When the sun's quite high, there's very little shadows, so you tend to hit those potholes a lot more. It's just a really minor point. That's an instruction from one of my friends called Tom Bell, who does the desert off-road rallying, and he wears orange glasses that really help with detecting dunes and bowls and things like that. So I've mentioned a few things that you should do. Things that you shouldn't do is really bother with any of the... I've seen the F1 drivers using them to keep cool, and that's why I bought them. It's like an ice pack that you put around your neck, and there's also one that you put on your chest. Honestly, they don't work at all. In fact, they're actually, for cycling, they're kind of anti-productive. Basically, they melt more or less straight away, and then they heat your body. There's no airflow around them. We tried it a few years ago. They just don't work. There's no point in having any kind of fan on the bike because you're getting airflow over you, and at the moment there's quite a little bit of a breeze. So a fan isn't going to be totally ineffective. I think the only thing that technology-wise that did help was the backpack, and just flowing cool water over you in like a mist did help. But I don't think it would be any good for a long ride. That was when I was doing shorter rides. But that's really about it in terms of things you can think about in terms of the heat. What I would say is don't let it put you off. Actually, do let it put you off. If you feel it's too hot, don't ride. But you know, there's things you can do and adapt to try and make sure that you can ride all year here. It says it's June, yeah, it's the end of June, June 24th. Temperature is now 36 degrees, so it's warm. Morning. And it shouldn't stop you. It doesn't have to stop you. If you're too hot, you don't feel you can work with it, just do shorter distances, keep close to home, make sure you drink plenty of water. Build yourself into this heat. So just coming under Tolerance Bridge, ironically, tolerance to the heat. This is the ride over, 21 kilometers. I've taken about an hour, 53 minutes of cycling. My heart rate didn't get above zone 2 at all, zone 1 ride completely. I think I kept my legs into zone 2, maybe zone 1, but I'll check the data. I'll put the data on the screen now. Have a lovely day. Might not ride tomorrow. 90% chance probably not riding, but we'll see. Otherwise it will be Thursday or Friday. Catch the data later. Signing off.